This is the Wait Just an Infosec podcast, your weekly opportunity to tap into the minds of some of the world's foremost cybersecurity experts. Wait Just an Infosec is a weekly show live streamed on SANS Institute social media channels on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The show features a wide range of guests from across the InfoSec community. Whether we're diving into the weeds of the latest data breach or exploring the security implications of groundbreaking technology such as generative AI, each episode brings you new insight to keep you engaged in the industry, feed your fire for knowledge, and amplify your value as an InfoSec practitioner. Join the SANS community and gain free access to cutting-edge industry news, cybersecurity resources like technical research, and tools that can't be found elsewhere. Subscribe for free today at sans.org/join. On this episode of Wait Just an Infosec, we're talking all about higher education with guest host Ed Scotus. Ed was joined by Betsy Marchant and Dr. Michael Kiphart to discuss the roadblocks to getting a degree in cybersecurity. Ed also shared in a conversation with Melissa Bishoping, a sans.edu student, who discussed her journey in higher ed and why she thinks it's all worth it.
But now let's move on to our main feature segment, as they call it. And this is going to be what the heck is going on with cybersecurity higher education. So if we could bring in my special guests, Betsy Marchant and Michael Kiphart, I'd like to introduce them to you. And then after we do our introductions, we're going to go through the results of the Slido poll. So let me start with Betsy. I saw she just waved at you. Betsy, welcome, welcome. Betsy Marchant brings over 20 years experience in education and management to her role as Vice Provost at the SANS Technology Institute College, where she has broad oversight of student management and academic program administration. Betsy joined the college in 2016 as Assistant Director of Graduate School Operations. Through her leadership, student support programs were improved and greatly expanded to effectively manage the college's growing student population. Now, prior to joining the SANS Technology Institute College, Betsy directed a public health preparedness training team at the Virginia Department of Health. She also worked in training and education for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and she has a BS in health sciences from Clemson University, and an MPH, that's a Master's of Public Health, I had to look it up, in Public Health from the University of South Carolina. So welcome, Betsy.
Thanks, Ed.
I'd also like to welcome Michael J. Kiphart, PhD. Hey, Michael.
Hello.
Dr. Kiphart has over 30 years experience in higher education. Check this out. He has held positions as a psychology faculty member and associate provost for academic affairs at St. Mary's College of Maryland. And he's been a dean of student affairs at Carroll Community College in Maryland. But that's just getting started. In addition, he has served as the vice president of the Maryland Independent College and University Association, assistant secretary for planning and academic affairs, director of academic affairs, and education policy analyst for the Maryland Higher Education Commission, also known as MHEC, vice president of the Middle States Commission on Higher Education, and an independent higher education consultant. Michael has higher education just flowing through his veins. He has experience in higher education issues at both the 2-year and 4-year public and private institutions and at statewide, regional, and national levels. He's the authority that we turn to for advice on what's happening in college education these days and how we can best address student needs. Finally, he has expertise in academic programs and institutional approvals and institutional accreditation approvals and maintenance. Michael, thank you for being here. And with those special guests, let me also add on my own behalf here. So as you know, I'm Ed Scotus. I'm the president of the SANS Technology Institute College. My job is to work with this team of Betsy and all of her folks and Eric Patterson, the provost, on just how to give a great higher education experience to the SANS Technology Institute colleges. I'm also a SANS instructor and fellow, and I build cyber ranges with my team over at CounterHack. So with that said, let's go ahead and look at our Slido results. Get ready, Betsy and Michael, because I'm going to look to you for input on this. Well, gee, how about that? What is the biggest thing holding you back from pursuing a college degree or certificate in cybersecurity? Money, the big money, right? Big money and time. Yeah, money and time. Uncertain value, comprehension, maybe knowing what it's all about, and maybe also, from how can you absorb all this stuff? The value, I think that's related to uncertain of value. Lack of good instructors. Oh yeah, we have some things to think about on that and address that. And company not giving you the time to do it. Very interesting. So thank you for those results. Thank you for weighing in on that. Let's discuss those points. Maybe starting with some trends in higher education. I'd like to go to you first, Betsy, if you're good with that.
Sure.
I've been reading a lot. In fact, I just read an article in a journal earlier today. I saw it. It was released last week, but it's the Inside Higher Ed, it's called. And I did point out to our guests here, higher ed is referring to higher education, not in an altered stream of consciousness, that kind of thing. But it was talking about this article in Inside Higher Ed of, college enrollments have been down. But this article says, and it's a little optimistic, kind of saying, well, things were bad during COVID and it didn't really come back as quickly after COVID as we thought. And things are looking a little better. They're stabilizing, but they're not going back to where they were. But from what I'm reading and seeing beyond that one article from a week ago, there's a lot of changes that are happening and that don't bode well for some schools. So can you give us a little idea of the trends in higher education with respect to enrollment, Betsy?
Sure. So higher education enrollment has actually been declining since 2010. So, and then we had COVID come along and it really took a deep dive. We all stayed home, didn't go, or prospective students didn't go directly to college. So there was a deep dive. The article you're referencing from last week does show that there's some stabilization after COVID, but there's still that steady decline that we've been seeing since 2010. And then compounding all of this, we have something looming called an enrollment cliff. And so to describe a little bit about what that is, between the years of 2008 and 2011, there was a recession and there was also a steady decline in birth rates. So if you're looking at a chart, there's, just a drop off there like a cliff. So if you add 17 to 18 years to that, you're looking at prospective student enrollment in 2025, beginning in 2025, taking the same kind of dip. So colleges are really having to think about how they're going to encounter that enrollment cliff that is looming in 2025.
Yes, indeed. I've heard a lot about that. And, it's not like you can go back and make more people from, 13 years ago or something like that. You can't. They have to kind of work their way through. So it's impacting a lot of the traditional colleges, but it's opening up opportunities for other ways of learning. And I also understand there's some issues with geographic distribution of, where colleges are located. I saw this crazy statistic that most people go to college, for traditional college goers, within something like 70 or 100 miles, like something like 70 or 80% of where they live. And from what I've read, there's a concentration of colleges in the Northeast, whereas population growth is happening in the West and in the South, and there aren't as many colleges there for them. So the whole college situation is kind of being scrambled. And Michael, I'd like to come to you now, because there was a lot of thing on that Slido. There's a lot of sentiment around the money situation when it comes to college, and student debt is a looming concern. Did you want to comment on where that trend is going, what we're seeing there?
Yes, I believe that, and going along with what Betsy said, in terms of the enrollment declines, at that same time, costs have been increasing for higher education. They spent years building amazing physical plants for the on-campus students that have grown. They added the climbing walls, the Starbucks in their libraries, and other kinds of things. COVID and some of those enrollment declines are decreasing those enrollments, and they have facilities that are overbuilt now, but they're still costing them money. So the costs have gone up. The financial aid, et cetera, for federal financial aid has actually decreased a certain amount for grants and work study, et cetera, but increased in terms of loans. And loans have outpaced the students' ability, once they graduate, to pay back those loans. I find students who have $100,000 in student loans by the time they graduate. I recently talked to a medical student who had $400,000 in student loans at the time they got their MD. So as you say, the costs are outraising. States are very concerned about this and are actually trying to keep institutions to get their costs down. But that's very difficult when you have these big plants to maintain, and you also have a number of faculty and staff, which was increasing, and you have other increasing costs. So tuition is not going down; it's still kind of going up, but it may be edging up a little bit more slowly here in the near future.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too. Also, I saw, very recent news, very topical. From what I see, the new deal to extend the debt limit, it was just announced like last night or this morning. And the pause on student loan payments looks like it's going to go away as part of this budget deal. We'll see if the budget deal and the debt extension gets passed in Congress. That's still a day or two of debate on that. I think they're voting tomorrow. But I mean, that's going to impact people who hold student debt, whether they're current students or students from the past. Yeah, it is definitely a concern. I've seen some folks that are talking in our chat channel here. Money is definitely a challenge, said someone. Someone else talks about, gatekeeping and predatory aspects of it. And you can see some people have added some more things here: comprehension, uncertainty of value, effective guidance, I assume that is, base knowledge building, all of that kind of stuff. And it brings up, value is reflected here in a couple of ways. I mean, money and time, and then the value that you get for your money and your time are really significant. So Betsy, tell us more about this whole value and the return on investment associated with the degree and what we're seeing in higher ed generally. Now, we're focused on higher ed generally right now, but we'll get some more specifics in just a bit. But just generally speaking, address this topic of value.
Sure. So with the tight labor market that we're seeing out there, we're seeing some employers who are dropping the degree requirement for job postings. So the state of Pennsylvania, Maryland, Utah, I think, recently announced it. And then some companies like Apple and Google are dropping those requirements from some of their postings. So they're looking for things that are more like micro credentials, or something that can really prove that someone can do the skills that they're looking for without the degree. So that's where things like professional certifications come in handy for those. But from the student's perspective, you add the large cost of college with the need to have the degree with applying for jobs, and some people are really questioning the value of it. If whether they're going to be able to pay back what they've taken out in loans and things like that with the income or the jobs prospects that they have ahead of them. Yeah,
and kind of reinforcing what you're saying there, Betsy. Reinforcing that. We've got some folks in the channel who said cash rules everything around me. I hear you. And here's another one. I dropped out of college in 2010 because it was both too expensive and irrelevant. My college didn't offer courses with material anywhere close to state of the art when it comes to computer science and cybersecurity. I hear that a lot. You got to be relevant. I mean, really. Problem with current education system, says someone else, is that having a degree does not always equal competence. It proves you were able to sit in a class over time and complete a program. So, yeah, I mean, that is definitely an area of concern, and I definitely want to address that in the rest of this conversation. But I'd like to take a little bit of a turn here and tell folks about this vision that was presented to me about 15 years ago. There's a man named Alan Paller. Alan was the founder of the SANS Institute, and he was also the founder of the SANS Technology Institute College. And about 15 years ago, Alan kind of bounced up to me. When he got all excited with a new idea, he would bounce. And he literally bounced up to me, Ed, I've got this idea. And I'm like, what's the idea? He said, we should build a college. And, we had just worked to build the SANS Institute, which was Alan's vision, so people could take these classes. And we had worked on building this thing called GX, so people could get their certifications associated with it. And now Alan's got this college idea. And gosh, Alan was such a treasure. I miss him so much. He passed about a year and a half ago, but he was much like a father to me in this industry. But Alan came to me with this idea. He was super excited. We're going to make a college. I'm like, why would we do that? We've already got training. We've already got certifications. And he said, but we could really provide a lot of extra value to people with a college. They could get their master's degree. That was the initial vision. We'll get their master's degree. Later on, we added certificates and bachelor's degrees, as we'll talk about in a little bit. But they could get their master's degree, and we can work really hard to make sure that we have an entire program, not just a single class that somebody might take once a year or every other year, but an entire program to really train people for leadership and really deep cybersecurity practice. That's what we're going to do. And I was, kind of scratching my chin at first saying, really? I mean, can we do that? That's going to be a lot of work. And it was, in fact, a lot of work. But that was my introduction to this college. And then about 2 years ago, Alan said to me, he said, hey, what do you think about taking over as president of this institution? And I was super honored. And it's one of the funnest things I've done in the last 2 years is to work as part of this organization. Michael, you were there at the start of the SANS College from sort of the outside perspective. You're working with Maryland, various groups there. How did the college come about from your purview, the SANS College?
Well, I will say that Alan Paller came with the same exuberance for a new college with a new model, which was totally online. And the Maryland Higher Education Commission had not heard of such a thing. And at that time, I think there was some concern about whether that's even a possibility. Now, my background, even though it's an experimental psychology, my PhD, my two minors were computer science, AI, and philosophy. Mm-hmm. So pairing that with my experimental psychology, I was intrigued by Alan's vision for this institution. And working with him and with Eric Patterson and other SANS individuals, we managed to get approval for the SANS at that early date for a brand new model, a brand new institution, which just there wasn't anything like it around. And so that was very exciting for me. I still think some people think I might have been mistaken, but it worked out.
It did. Yeah, it was such a new idea at the time. And now the world is changing where people are increasingly getting their education online and interacting in those ways. But there's still some important differentiators. Betsy, I'd love to hear, maybe your origin story or maybe a pivotal moment in your participation in this whole SANS Technology Institute college thing. You started in 2016. So tell us like some big news that you faced in that time.
Yeah, so I arrived at the college after it was accredited. We actually were in the middle of reaccreditation, so I got to learn a lot about the college and accreditation and how we fit that mold. But soon after that, Alan came up with a new idea. He was always looking to reduce the cybersecurity workforce gap. And so his new idea was that we would launch undergraduate programs. For those of you who don't know, we originally started as a graduate school. So the undergraduate programs was definitely a new concept, especially when you thought about us. We didn't have math or science or history or any of those classes that are, involved in an undergraduate degree. So I think Alan came and talked to you, Ed, and he came and talked to you, Michael, and you guys got together and came up with a new idea of how we might tackle this problem and really reframe what undergraduate education would look like for us. So what we ended up doing is getting approval for students to go and get those general education classes, the science, the history, all of those things that are required somewhere else. And then they come to us and complete with what we do best, and that's cybersecurity. So that was a really cool pivotal point for the college, and we've been up and running and growing since then.
Yeah, that was another Alan bouncing up to me thing. He's like, we should do undergraduate degrees. And I was like, we're just rolling now with master's degrees and certificates and now undergraduate. And then this discussion about, well, we're not going to teach basic math or English literature. But the point is, well, people can take that at a community college or a 4-year school and then come to us with something like 70 credits. And then we can give them the last 50 credits focused on cybersecurity education and finish that off. Betsy, while you're discussing what you're going through, I was thinking about some people might not be familiar much with SANS.edu itself, and kind of what is this thing, the SANS College? Maybe some people are even kind of new to this. SANS has a college. What can you just share a brief kind of summary of what it is, how big it is,
Sure.
what we do?
Happy to. So we're an accredited college, and we focus solely on cybersecurity. We have over 1,600 students and over 1,000 alumni. Several programs. We have a bachelor's program, a master's program, and then 9 certificate programs. We have a certificate program for those people who are new to cyber and want to enter the field. And then we have 8 technically focused certificate programs for people who want to really focus in on an area like cloud security. What makes us really unique is that we're able to leverage our relationship with SANS. And so our course content is based on the same courses that you know of with SANS, with the same faculty members that you know from SANS. So we have hyper-relevant, updated materials. I noticed someone in the chat said that they, or on the Slido, that outdated materials is a problem in cybersecurity. And it is a fast-moving field. So we're lucky to be able to leverage that relationship. And then also we offer GX certifications with all of our programs. So when you complete a certificate program, you're earning 4 GX professional certifications along the way. With our bachelor's and master's degree program, you're earning 9 GX certifications along the way. So not only are you having an end outcome of a degree or a certificate, you're stacking those professional certifications while you're in our programs. So you're able to get a job and or promotion based on those professional certifications that employers know and trust. There's another thing I wanted to touch on really quickly because I see a lot of people mention time as a problem for attending college. So we at SANS Technology Institute have very flexible programs. We don't work on a typical academic schedule like you think of with a typical college. Each student is on their own academic schedule. So, you could come and apply this month and start 2 months later. And students take 1 course at a time. They take those courses either online with our on-demand platform or in person at one of the SANS live events. And they can even take them live online, which is a little bit of a mix of both online, but in person or at the same time. So it's really a lot of flexibility offered for students along the way. And then for funding, we have for graduate programs, we have a variety of funding options, including monthly payment plans. But for undergraduate students, we offer something called an income share agreement. So we put our money where our mouth is. We feel so confident that you're going to be able to get a job in the field after you graduate, that we cover your tuition until you get a job. And so if those undergraduates don't start making payments until they get a job, and then it's monthly payments based on a small percentage of their income. So we have seen, just to piggyback on that, one last point, we've seen really amazing outcomes with our undergraduate program, and specifically speaking towards our undergraduate certificate program, which is 4 courses to launch people into cybersecurity. Most people, or a lot of them, a majority, are getting jobs even before they graduate because you're getting those stacked GX certifications along the way. And the average starting salary for those folks is $90,000. So we're seeing some really great outcomes with those programs, and students are really happy with the flexibility that they're able to partake in along the way. I'll be quiet now and let you ask me any questions you have.
That really is cool. Thank you, Betsy, for that. Money is a big issue for a lot of folks with this. If you go to sans.edu, the website, and click on academics, you can see each of the programs they have there. There's the undergraduate certificates program. There's the undergraduate degree, bachelor's degree. There's master's degrees. And the thing I like about them is they show you a little statistic on it, like how many classes you're taking, how many GX certs will you get associated with it, and what's the total cost of the whole program. And if you look at that cost, it's actually less than the cost of taking those individual SANS courses, because you're getting the educator's discount essentially, or maybe you're kind of buying in bulk, another way to look at it. Also, Betsy, I think there's a program where if you're an alum of the SANS Technology Institute College, you can take one SANS class per year at the reduced college rate. Is that right?
That is correct. It's a great continuing education benefit or perk of being an alumni.
I sometimes, mention that possibility to our existing alums, and they're surprised. They had no idea that it existed, but they get really excited really quick. Now, Michael, when I asked Betsy to kind of define what the school is, she started by saying it's a fully accredited institution. What does that mean, Michael? Accreditation. You're instrumental in that kind of stuff. So,
well, I think accreditation is very important. I thought my time was over with SANS after my Maryland higher education experience and the initial approval, but my next job was at Middle States Association for accreditation, and SANS applied for accreditation. So I worked with SANS on their accreditation as well. But accreditation is really the gold standard for higher education in terms that it's an institutional approval, which indicates that the institution meets a number of standards for quality higher education, both in academics, student services, finances, physical plant, other kinds of things. And it is an intense self-review every number of years where the campus does a complete review of itself. And it is also a requirement that there's continuing research and ongoing, I'm blocking on my word there, but ongoing research and other things about the institution and their quality, so that the institution is always current with where they stand and what they're doing. And the accreditation is very important. Also, accreditation means that other institutions will take those credits from that institution. Some institutions, some individuals, some graduate programs will not take individuals unless they graduated from an accredited program. And so that's very important if you want to continue your education.
Well said. Well said. Thank you for that, Michael. I'd like to turn to some of the questions that are coming in. We don't have a lot of time left, like 3-4 minutes, and I want to give you guys a chance to end things with closing thoughts. But let me just kind of throw this out there. Maybe we'll start with Betsy. It says many scholarships will not support online schools, and there are other ideas to secure. Are there any other ideas to secure scholarships for SANS College? Maybe you might want to mention the academies and some of the scholarship opportunities, Betsy.
Sure. The first thing I would say, though, is that as an accredited school, I think that those scholarships should be, you should find some eligibility for us. Just because we're online should not hinder you from being able to apply for scholarships from the school. Another thing that SANS offers, SANS.org offers, is the cyber academies. And those are full scholarship programs that people who are looking to enter the cyber workforce can apply for. There is a Vet Success Academy. There is a Diversity Academy. There's an HBCU Academy and a Women's Academy. And so students entering those programs, again, those are to launch a cybersecurity career. They're taking SEC 275, SEC 401, and SEC 504.
Yeah, those academies are great. Somebody could probably do a search in their favorite search engine for SANS academies, or specific ones like the Veterans Academy or the Women's Academy, and you'll find that right away. So I'd like to give you each 30 seconds or so for some closing thoughts, and then we'll move over to Melissa Bishoping. So stay tuned for that. But why don't we start with Michael? Michael, 30 seconds on what you'd like to leave our folks here with?
Yeah, I would like to leave everybody with the value of the bachelor's or the college degree, because I think it provides the breadth of experiences for an individual to move into the workplace and actually become a leader in that they have the people skills, they have the writing ability, they have the communication ability, and so forth, that maybe you don't get by strictly drilling down into the technical level. And basically, the world needs individuals who understand the technical level, but can mold those individuals who do the technical aspects into teams and other things and problem-solving groups, and actually provide that leadership of teams and actually institutions in order to lead those groups forward.
Exactly. Really well said. Keeping people that want to move into leadership and helping to build technical skills and leadership skills, and also people who want to be great practitioners that can communicate and impact the industry. I mean, that's the kind of thing the college is focused on. Betsy, why don't you give us some closing thoughts, please?
Sure. So I am sure that some folks here did not know that SANS had a college. So, hey, we have a college. I hope that some of the things in today's show piqued your interest. And I would ask you to go visit www.sans.edu to learn more.
That's so good. And I see some, thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Michael, Dr. Kiphart. It is great to have heard that from you. We do appreciate it. And stay tuned. We should do this again sometime. This was fun. And but we're ready to move on now to our next segment. There's some great discussion happening in the channel right now. There's somebody that's in the Women's Immersion Academy with SANS talking about how it's absolutely incredible, finishing up the program and how that it's their dream. That's really great to hear. Some other comments in the channel about the faculty and how they're actual SANS instructors. They're expert practitioners. We love to see that. Thank you so much. But with that said, let me drop a little hint for Holiday Hack, and then we'll bring Melissa Bishop in. 20 years now. And it comes out the second week of December. And it's something that me and my team work on for over a year. I'm already working on the following year's one in October of the year in which the December one will be released in just a couple months. So I've been working on this now for 7 or 8 months for the Holiday Hack 2023. And you're going to see a change of venue this year. Santa normally does his operations at the North Pole. And then a couple of years ago, we did one where he was at Elf University. This year, Santa's going to be relocating. He's going to be moving his operations for the holiday season to near the equator in the Pacific Ocean. And there's an archipelago of islands there that Santa's going to be going to. So you might want to stay tuned for that. I'm going to give you a couple more hints and ideas of where Holiday Hack is headed in just a bit. But let's bring up Melissa Bishop. Melissa, college. Hey, Melissa, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Let me introduce you, and then I've got some questions for you. Okay. So Bishoping is amazing. Let me just. That's all that needs to be said, right? No, I'll add a little bit. She's a passionate security evangelist whose academic and professional background in human psychology and technology align to educate, advocate, and remediate the difficult security problems faced by business and individuals. Melissa's most interested in topics around adversary emulation, awesome, purple team operations, oh yeah, zero trust philosophy, reverse engineering, and digital forensics and incident response. That is quite a wide range of interests. Prior to her current role as Director of Endpoint Security Research at Tanium, she held positions in IT operations and security in both the hospitality and manufacturing industries. I first met Melissa when she joined us for one of our President's Mixers. Every quarter, we do a little mixer where we get online with a bunch of the students and just kind of mix it up and talk and such. We also do one for the alumni once every quarter. And Melissa joined one of these things, and she was just awesome. Outside of work, Melissa pursues a Master's of Science in Information Security at the SANS Technology Institute College, where she also competes as part of the nationally ranked Capture the Flag team. I want to ask about that in a bit. She was honored to be selected as a 2023 RSA Conference Security Scholar. So at the RSA Conference, a scholar representing the SANS Technology Institute College. Awesome. So, Melissa, if you would, please tell us a little bit about the master's program that you're in.
Ed's
Yep,
speed.
I'm back. Okay.
Okay, you're back.
So tell us about the master's program that you're in and how far along you are in that program.
Sure thing. I am doing my master's in information security engineering. I started this in, I think my first class was August or September of 2020. So I started sort of in what we call the first year of COVID. And now I think I'm down to, I've got my research paper, one elective, and one of the practical exercises, like the group projects left. So I'm hoping to finish up either end of the year or sometime early in the spring.
That's awesome. I wish you the best. Now, what do you do at your day job?
So my day job, I'm director of endpoint security research for a company called Tanium. So we do endpoint security operations, endpoint operations and security software. And my role is looking at, emerging threats, some of the big CVEs, the stuff that gets in the headlines, and using that to help enable our field teams as well as our customer base, and working with our product teams as well to best operationalize threat intelligence and what we're learning about how attackers are behaving. So every day is a little bit of a new puzzle for me, which is exactly why I love what I do. And it's also part of how, every class that I've taken through my master's so far has immediately gone back into the work that I'm doing, largely because all of the information stays so up to date. Beyond that, I also get opportunities to do a lot of engagements like this, where I get to talk about my work and how these things overlap.
That's awesome. I love the way you summarize the SANS promise, right? That is what you learn in your classes, you'll be able to apply right back at work. And we do sweat that detail. That's important. And Tanium, it seems like a great company. Everything I've heard about them has been so positive. And the fact that you're there and working actively speaks highly of them, I think. So really cool. Now, how did you first hear about SANS.edu?
So I actually first got involved with sort of my awareness of SANS was when I was working grave shift doing like hack the box CTFs many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. And I found a bunch of like the cheat sheets and the posters and stuff. And I was finishing up my bachelor's in IT at the time. And it was one night I was looking for something and it was like, wait a second, SANS has a bachelor's program. Like I didn't know about this. I would have done my bachelor's there. So of course, I got my bachelor's at Colorado State and had a really great experience. But when it came time to choose my master's, I went back and I was like, this is the balance for me between certifications, experience, and education, and being able to sort of check all those boxes that either hiring managers or HR teams are looking for, as well as build on my existing knowledge and grow myself as a professional.
That is awesome. So you were getting your bachelor's degree. You found out about SANS doing bachelor's degrees. You were already well into that program. But then that kind of planted the seed saying, hey, there's a master's here. And now you're more than halfway through there. What was the enrollment process like?
Very easy, actually. So I didn't want to have to take more standardized tests to do a graduate program.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was part of it was when I was narrowing down some of my criteria for where I wanted to do my program. It was the application process was really straightforward. There's a little bit of a technical assessment, but my advisor, Betty, has been literally with me every step of the way. We check in after and during each course. And before I even enrolled, there's like a pre-course that you take to just get you aware with things like, hey, we're using APA formatting for all of our papers. Here's how our courses are structured. Here's our delivery mechanism. And the advising team has been as just more hands-on than they were when I was going to college in undergrad at a brick and mortar university, I think.
I really think they're a great gem at SANS.edu. These advisors, they're amazing people. And we've hired them from higher education, just kind of cream skim the best of the best from brick and mortar colleges. And now they work for the SANS Technology Institute. So that's cool. I'm glad you mentioned them. All right. You ready for the controversial part? All right. No pressure here, but what's your favorite class?
So I warned you when we were talking about doing this segment. I was like, you can't make me pick favorites, man.
I said, yes, I can.
Instructors like coming after me. So favorite class that I've taken so far, I think would have to be a toss-up between Forensics 500 and 508. Nice. Largely because both of those classes deal heavily in the type of forensics work that is critical to the work that I do every day professionally. And I definitely walked away, even though I already knew some sort of high level pieces of concepts, those went really deep into things like being able to do deep dives on the registry or deep dives into browser forensics. I'm really excited though about the potential of taking 532, which is the memory forensics in depth, because that's what I wish 508 had gone a little deeper into. So I'm actually hoping to take that one soon.
They've got a class for that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So while we're stirring the pot, thank you for your favorite classes. So who's been your favorite instructor, favorite faculty member so far?
I think given the fact that two of my favorite classes were his, I'm going to have to say Chad Tilbury is probably one of my favorites. His anecdotes and stories from the field really resonate. I think that's one of the things that makes it a very relatable. You don't feel like you're being lectured to. You feel like you're being taught from someone who's actually lived through this and learning from their mistakes, their learning opportunities, their experiences, the tools that they've had a chance to leverage in real world incidents. But I also have had through the CTF team opportunities to hear Matthias Fuchs and Lenny Zeltzer do some presentations, which has me looking forward to actually taking classes with both of them.
That is so cool. There are a lot of Chad Tilbury fans out there, just saying. Matthias Fuchs is one of the great new instructors that we've got. And Lenny Zeltzer, he's been teaching for SANS for over 20 years, a dear friend of mine. I feel just smarter whenever I spend time with Lenny. It's just, maybe I'm not actually smarter, but I feel it. So that's good. Lenny's great. So excellent list. Now, you had mentioned working on your paper and some additional stuff. How have your interactions with other SANS.edu students, like group projects and such, what's that like?
So we have a couple of different opportunities for actual interaction, which is unique for an online only school. We have several group projects. I think there's actually 2 group projects where you do an exercise and write a paper collaboratively. One of them is more around like security architecture and design, and the other one is around incident response. I'm actually looking forward to the incident response one later this year. But there's also, we have a really active like Slack community. We have the CTF team, which I know we're going to talk a little bit about. There are opportunities for you to engage with your classmates outside of that traditional class schedule. And I have referred people for jobs from within the SANS student community. People trade recommendations on products, on other companies and reviews. And one of the things that I think was an unexpected benefit was just how valuable the network of students and faculty was going to be, and how that was going to challenge me to grow and open doors for me professionally that I don't know that another college could have done.
That's really cool. I mean, I love working with those folks, the faculty and the staff, and I love seeing the students and talking with them and chatting. That's really cool to hear. We'll go real quick on this one. You've participated in the CTFs as one of the students of the college. The college does pretty darn well in those things. Tell us about that.
So every year we've been focusing a lot on the National Cyber League, which is a huge competition with like over 6,000 competitors, over 1,000 different teams, I think, in the team-based game. And every year we do place quite well, but they put us up on teams of 7. So SANS fields, anywhere from 5 to 10, 20 teams. I can't remember how many there were. So somebody correct me on that. Yeah. But every single year you think, oh man, okay, I've got it down. And every single year you're challenged and you learn some new technique that's generally it's a little gamified for the CTF. You know how that is, building cyber ranges, but it's all based on current trending exploits, current trending technologies. There's been blockchain challenges. There's been proto-buff decoding. So it's been incredibly rewarding to see the camaraderie, the team building, the way we've all developed our knowledge and sort of built this grimoire of CTF knowledge that we try and work on between seasons and train each other and have this peer leadership.
That is cool. Well, I'm going to ask you for your closing thought in just a minute. There's some discussion in the channel. Somebody asked how much is the program. There's several programs at SANS.edu. If you go to SANS.edu and click on academics, you can see the price of each program and what's included with each program. And look, my daughter just finished her master's degree in English literature. My son is getting his bachelor's degree right now at Rutgers, just up the street. And, that's undergraduate. And I think you'll find the SANS.edu prices are actually quite reasonable compared to what you'd pay for a master's degree or bachelor's degree elsewhere in the world. And also I see some wonderful comments. Somebody had met me at HackSpaceCon a few months ago and decided that they were going to go into the SANS program and just are starting June 1st. So that's pretty exciting and cool. But Melissa, final question for you. Okay. And thank you for doing this. You're just a delight. If you had one piece of advice for someone who's contemplating the SANS.edu college, what would that be?
Get familiar with what we call the indexing process for taking the classes. That's really key to studying well for the exams. But more importantly than that, don't miss the opportunity to connect with the students through the mixers, through the Slack channels, through the CTFs, because the biggest thing that SANS, I think, in addition to the technical training being top tier, the people you're going to meet and the relationships you're going to build as some of the most passionate and professional industry experts is going to be life-changing and career-changing.
Thank you for listening to the Wait Just an Infosec podcast. Remember to join us live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern for a new episode of Wait Just an Infosec. You can watch at SANS.org/WJAI. Or go to the SANS LinkedIn or YouTube channels. The Wait Just an InfoSec podcast will be released every Wednesday at noon. Thanks for listening. See you next week.